No, I'm not sure about this lighting. And yes, my sister is going to get her laundry, so if you hear her going up and down the stairs, no, you don't. It is 2 p.m. and I'm still drinking coffee. Welcome to the April wrap up. Classy. Good news. Do we all remember my goal to read for half of the year? My average rating each month be over 4 stars, and so far I've failed. I succeeded this month. Stats. We're gonna start with that. We're gonna go fast. Cause I know people aren't as stats obsessed as I am. April read 17 books. The number of pages on here says 3,347, but at about 100, because I did start a book, but I didn't get to the halfway point, so I'm not counting it for April. I usually count it for the month before if it's over halfway, right? Audiobooks. Listen to a lot. A lot of the books I read either were dual reading or long audiobooks. So 64 and a half hours, which is about 20 more hours than normal. We love that. Average rating of 4.11. We absolutely love that. 0 reads and 6 were authors of color. Only 3 of those were manga. So, genres. We have an erotica, 5 fantasy, a graphic novel, 3 poetry, because I'm in my poetry era, 6 romance, and 3 sci-fi. Format, we have 5 audio, 12 ebook, and 2 mixed media. No physical, because why would I do that? Mixed media were both audio and ebook, right? I've read from 9 adult and 10 YA. And I feel like I liked most of the YA I read this month, which I love for me. 4 were debuts, 12 I read before, 3 were new to me. And then we got the ratings. The reason why it's so high for average for the month, 5 stars. 5 of them. And none of them were a reread. Love that for me personally. Was it difficult to figure out my favorite of the month? Yes. Did I technically make it 2? Because I read a duology and rated both of them 5 stars? Yes. But that's a future me issue. Or, well, past me, it was an issue. But we don't have to worry about that. 1 4.5, a 4.25, 4 4 stars, 3 3.5s, a 3, a 2.5, 2 DNFs, and a not rated, which is the erotica because I thought. Alright, we'll talk about them when I get to it because what did I read? In all honesty. Okay. On the start of, listen, the month started great with a 4.5 star with Red Rising. A good time. I read this for the Wings vlog. Also, I dual read it and it is a long book. Like it's 407 pages, 16 hours for the audiobook, right? So it's a long book. Lends to itself to a lot of audiobook listening. But yes, I read that. It was good. 4.5 stars. I do have the second book on hold on Libby right now. I'm waiting impatiently. At the same time I was reading this, I was also watching Blue Eye Samurai on Netflix, right? Both of these were recommended by Bestie's boyfriend. Last I hung out with him, he was, I think, on book 3 or 4 in Red Rising, and he had recently watched the show, Blue Eye Samurai. I was like, hey, I recommend. And I had heard a lot of great things about Red Rising in general. Decided to finally pick it up. And the moral of the story is, maybe I should have listened to his recommendations, because did it emotionally destroy me, both of them? Yes. Did I have a great fucking time? Yes. I forgot about this next one. The DNF, one of the 2 DNFs. The Eris Effect by Courtney Milan, which is, I believe, the second full-length book in the Brother Sinister series, which I've been reading for kind of a long time, by Courtney Milan. I don't know how to, okay, so like, there's these brothers, they each have a love interest, and it follows each of the brothers in a different book. This one, I think, is the one who is the bastard son, in a totally consensual ways, of the Lord, right? From the whole entire thing about him was the prequel novella that I really loved, right? Here's my issue. I DNF'd it 39 pages in. The issue is that his love interest is a woman who comes from money it was insinuated, as much as I read, that there was something going on where one of her parents was not the same as her sister's parents, right? One of them was a bastard. She has like an absorbently large dowry, right? But she is trying her hardest not to get married off, because after her parents died, or their parents died, her sister was given to their uncle to take care of, who has some type of epilepsy or seizure thing going on, right? And so it's insinuated that like he actually cares about her, but he does not care for her. So medical abuse, forced institutionalization, and so by the end of that year, I think, if she isn't taken, like she's no longer required to be taken care of by her uncle, and then the main female character can use her dowry to pay for them to go off and just live their lives. So she's trying her hardest not to get married, which means she is being bullied and harassed on purpose, because she like doesn't want to get married, so she has to make it so she looks undesirable as fuck, despite how much money she has. Hear me out. I don't like bully romances. I've only read one I really liked, and it was like 5 pages of bully romance, then him being like, "Oh, I was in the wrong. Let me save you." So, right? I don't like bully romances. And technically he doesn't bully her, the main character doesn't, but he definitely thinks about it, and he's all like, he recognized, because he like was bullied when he was growing up, so he feels bad for her, but he's like has to physically stop himself from bullying her as well, and making fun of her and harassing her, and I'm just like, this is not fun for me. I'm here to read a romance and have fun. I say that when the novella I really loved and definitely was not fun at points. But yeah, no, that's not what I want to read in a romance, let alone a historical romance. So I'm skipping it in the series. Yay. Next up, started another series. Whoops. For the weekend reading vlog, it was Cinder. I did it video audio book. Rated it 4 stars. Honestly surprised that the fish really loves this series. Right? Also kind of knock another one off my 24 and 24 with that, because that replaced one of them. I don't remember which one. But yeah, the fish has been trying to get me to read this series forever, so that's why I put it in the jar initially, right, for them. And you know, I didn't think the fish would enjoy a book series about sci-fi, political war with undertones of racism, with the power of cyborgs, told through cyborgs, and also and classism, but also a plague. Right? Cinder was found when she was very young. I had a bunch of experimental different cyborg surgeries done on her, and was taken in by this guy who then died, and so his wife is basically her, you know, the Cinderella story, right? And she's basically indentured servant to her stepmother. And there's this plague that's going around, and she gets forced into being one of the test subjects to do, like, for the finding a solution to the plague. But surprise, surprise, she's immune. And also she's starting a romance with the prince, but there's also like a bunch of political war stuff happening in the background that I'm not gonna bring up. I forget his name, but is the prince a dumbass? Yes, he's the definition of dumb, which is so funny. Like, the way this bitch went, oh, Cinder is outside in the square when a bunch of protests against this evil regime queen comes, and the evil regime queen is outside watching the protests and notices a refugee from one of her people right there, obviously Cinder, and she's all like, oh my god, you have a refugee, that's illegal, I want her hunted down. And the only one left, because like she mind controls the others to leave, the queen does, so only one left is Cinder, and it doesn't click in his brain. There's no brain clicking. The fact that instead of her losing her shoe at midnight, it's her foot, her cyborg foot, kind of iconic. You know, was it predictable at points? Yes. But I have learned that I do like in YA, usually I don't want to say I prefer YA, but I prefer when YA does this. Like, I like it both in YA and adult, but I prefer a YA book if it has some type of message about society. This one is classism, racism, of course, right? Same with Red Rising, right? I thought Red Rising personally did it better. Also, I sure forgot to mention Red Rising. There's a hilarious joke I made that the whole entire trial competition thing in Red Rising could have been solved if they just played Civ 6 instead. I'm funny. Anyways, I like Cinder more than I expected. 4 stars. Honestly, so surprised that Fish liked it. I read the novella in the Four Kingdoms series that I'm in the middle of, which is a complete, like, side characters from the second book point of view about them finding romance type thing. It's called Happily Ever After. It's Snow White and Red Rose. Or was it Snow White? I don't fucking know, and I don't know enough about Rose Red to tell you anything about that. It is like a 3.5 hour audiobook. Like, I read it in one sitting. The narrator was the same. The audiobook itself was fine. The plot of it was kind of not it. 2.5. The reason why the second book in the series got a 3, I think it was, maybe a 3.5, one of the two, is because it was bad, but it was bad in a way that was enjoyable. This was just bad. It wasn't like horrible, but it was just right? Next up, things we hide from the light. Did I mention some of these are in the fishing series vlog? That is coming out in 2 weeks. Things we hide from the light. Also a podcast episode, that's up. Did that with the audiobook. That's also why my audiobook hours is very high. I rated it 4 stars. Listen, I spent a very long time complaining about having to pick this book up and how it's so long, and it's like, right? And then imagine me picking up the book and reading it in like 2 days and having a really good time. All cops are bastards. And I do go into depth, a little bit of depth, in the podcast episode about how it kept, but also how it's very obvious that one of the villains in the book is a cop, just to make it so the Nash, who is the main character, and a cop looks better because there's an even worse cop, and he stops that worst cop from being super bad. So, you know, but that's the thing. He has a great ass. That's all anyone talks about. The main character, I don't remember her name. Fish was right. I did love her. She was hilarious. There was one point where she was kidnapped and she had her hands bound with, I want to say zip ties. There we go. And she snaps them off. And I went, that's hot. I love her. Iconic. A lot of it is his PTSD and depression and anxiety after the first book. Things that happened in the end of the first book. And coming to terms with that. And her helping him with her own experiences as a teenager, going through similar, not the same exact, but like similar aspects. And so her helping him through, but like, it's definitely not her fixing him. He like very adamantly does not, like, is scared that he's choosing her because she's like a band-aid to the fix, and she's like, that was happening, I wouldn't let it be happening, right? Like, I'm not gonna be that bitch. So, you know, that's cool. It was good. 4 stars. I'm gonna drink more coffee. Okay, we have the bird vlog, the one with birds on the cover, in which we have the other DNF, which is Dark Earth by Rebecca Scott. I read all of part 1, and it follows 2 sisters, Blue and something else, and their father has recently died, and they have been kicked out of their community. I think it's supposed to be for racism reasons, but I don't know. It's supposed to be very like feminist, like 1500s feminist, maybe even earlier than 1500s feminist, like sisterly bonding and magic. The way it was written, I did not enjoy. I don't know how to describe it. I 100% described it in the vlog. So watch that if you want me to describe why I didn't like it. I think the issue was like, it was both third person POV, but also one of the sisters POV at the same time. And it was like in such a weird way that was not fun, and I didn't really care for either of the characters, and the story, and also kind of predictable, and also every time I thought about picking it back up, I literally just I just fell just down. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but I did not enjoy the idea of picking it back up. So I DNF'd it. Good times. And so instead, because that was my book for the Buzzwordathon, right? Nature, planet themed words, right? I instead picked up Night Sky with Exit Wounds by Ocean Vuong, which is an 89-page poetry collection. I like this one more than the other one of his that I read, which is Time is a Mother, I believe. I think I read that one 3 stars. This one I liked. Recommended it to Bestie because it totally gives me something she would love. It is basically a lot of stuff about growing up queer, growing up as a Vietnamese, I believe Vietnamese immigrant, growing up as a gay Vietnamese immigrant, and also war, but using nature and usually a lot with the night sky and different aspects of the night sky, as allegories, parallels, stuff like that throughout. It was good. I recommend. And then I read 6 at Crows. Again for the wing vlog. I cut out like 20 minutes of me talking about that book. I love Anish. I love Kaz. I love Jesper. I love Wylan, even though I'm pretty sure I pronounce his name right half the time. I love Nina. I'm pretty good with Matthias, though she did make me cry almost over Matthias in the sequel. It's fine. I listen, I was pretty sure I like heist books, especially prison heist books or prison break books. Those seem like a fun time to me. I like them. So if you take Leigh Bardugo's writing, my favorite parts of her writing in Ninth House, characters I ended up loving. A lot of just like themes. Again, themes in YA books. Though it can be argued that maybe this shouldn't have been YA. And then throw in a little bit of gay. Just a little bit of gay. A little bit of gay. And Prison Break. And then just the way it's written. Like, is it long as fuck? Yes. Did I love it? Yes, 5 stars. I go in depth a lot in the vlogs. Because it's the sequel is in the word one in cough cough. So check that out. But yeah, I love them. I love them. Oh. And I have no other words to say. Yeah, that's all we say for now, because I will talk about the sequel. Your Dad Will Do by Katie Robert, which is the one I did not rate. Is there's a podcast episode. It is about half an hour long. It is funny. There is no plot. It is just porn. Basically, the main character learns that catches her fiance cheating on her with her secretary. She's like predictable. And she has been having a low-key flirtation with his dad for the past few years. So she decides to get revenge. It starts off with this, with her showing up in lingerie at her ex-fiance's dad's house to bang for revenge. And he goes, sure, but if you stay for the whole weekend. So it takes place, most of it takes place over the weekend as they're banging. At one point, the ex-fiance does catch them going at it. That was funny. Right? And then, because, you know, it's been a week since she found out her fiance was cheating on her and is in love with the girl, God, she decides after the weekend, okay, I want to do this, but, like, I need time to heal first, so she takes, like, 6 months, heals. They're texting, I think this is, like, the last, like, chapter-ish, right? And then, she goes back to him, they bang again. And the book ends with while they're banging, the ex-fiance is asking, will you marry me? And her saying, yes, do you think he'll call me mom now? It's so funny. Listen, you gotta listen up. I gave that was all the plot. The rest of it's banging. But you gotta listen to the podcast episode. Just because listening to Fish react to me doing the whole, do you think he'll call me mom now? It's so funny. It's so funny. I can't rate that. There was no plot to rate. It was a book. I read it. It was a wild time. I am finishing the series for the podcast. Don't worry about it. It's gonna be a wild time. And then I read another poetry collection, which is a Mary Oliver collection called Dreamwork. I think this one is labeled as both a classic and a nonfiction, so, you know, I'm knocking that off my list. I rated it 4 stars. I think this is the highest I've rated one of her poetry collections, too. You know, my favorite part of it is that I was talking to Fish about it, and I brought up Mary Oliver, that's who I'm reading. And Fish went, oh yeah, Mary Oliver. And I forget that people know who Mary Oliver is. Like, I know she's a Pulitzer Prize winner. And, like, the fact that I managed to see her in person do live reading of her poetry, I want to say, like, 2 years before she died, is wild. Like, the fact I managed that, crazy. But, like, listen, I know her as the queer lady who grew up, or I don't think she grew up in New England, but she lived in New England. New England poet who had a living partner. That's what I know her as. I forget that other people know her. I'm sorry. I did make a list of my favorites in the collection. So give me a second. I will pull that up. Dogfish. Rage. The Fire. Members of the Tribe. The Journey. Milkweed. Storm in Massachusetts, September 1982. The Moths. And then my favorite, which is like one of the last ones, 1945 to 1985 poem for the anniversary. That was the one that pushed my rating up to a 4-star. I cried. It was just so good. I recommend just looking up that one. Like, I will most likely, if I remember to, put the whole list in the description, and I just recommend doing it will be the last one on the list. Just look up that one and read it because it's spectacular. Right? Good times. Next, I read a graphic novel, which was Cheer Up, Love and Pom-Poms, which is about a trans cheerleader, who becomes cheer captain and, gets one of her old friends from before to be a cheerleader because, there's like this whole thing where she needs to like join a community and people don't really like her. It's a lot of like the friendship of cheerleading and the community of cheerleading, them helping her out with like one trans folks, and two creepy guys that are like following her around and stuff, but also like through their closeness and friendship because like they're directly helping each other out with like homework and also cheerleading and stuff like that. Sometimes you just gotta kissy kiss. Okay, kissy kiss, kissy kiss. It was good. 3.5. The ending felt sudden, and some of the lines of dialogue, I say lines of dialogue, felt I feel that sometimes with graphic novels where things feel disconjointed, like things were removed to save up space or time. And so sometimes it doesn't really connect between the two for me. It was fine. Whatever, 3.5 stars. It was good. I recommend. And then I read Crooked Kingdom by Lee Bardugo. Over 500 pages. Also 5 stars. I don't know if you know this, but I love Nash. And I love Kaz. This one, oh my god. The ending when he holds her hand, I was freaking out. Also when he kisses her shoulder. I was also freaking out that I was literally on the most great way to finish. I am getting Fish to read this duology. I do not give a fuck. It's so good. It's so good. Did I immediately add King's of Scars as my, like, to my immediate TBR? Because I learned that the characters are gonna be in that series. Yes. Yes, I did. I really went, when Nina left, I went, this feels kind of sudden for her. And there was, like, something with, when the main character in that series was in this one briefly, and when they met, there was, like, a thing going on there. So I was like, it's a little weird. So I looked up and she's in it, and I was like, okay, cool. And then I went, nothing feels finished. Like, I get there's supposed to be another book up someday, but, like, there was a long amount of time before that was announced. And that's coming out. So, like, then I looked it up and like most of them are in it. I didn't check if Matthias is in it for reasons. So Jesper and Wyland, my little gays. I'm just so happy. The cast gives her in everything. And I'm fine. I talked about it for too long in the vlog again. 5 stars. The duology is my favorite of the month. That's why I put it as my favorite for the month. I couldn't choose between them. They're my favorite. Okay, there are still 3 other 5 stars to talk about. But I couldn't choose between my 2 children. So I put them as both the winner. In case you're wondering, yes, they are my children. Kaz especially. Oh my god. Kaz, listen, I know he's in 2nd place in my heart to Nej, but he's still my son. I say he's an almost 25-year-old lady. The day this comes up, 25-year-old lady. Other 5-star for the same vlog. This is how you lose the time warp. The way I really had a DNF and then 2 5 stars. God, this is one of the oldest books on my TBR. The writing, spectacular. Basically there's 2 characters, there's red and blue, they're on opposite sides of a time warp. I think it's blue who starts the messages, writing a letter to red, taunting red a little bit, and then red sends one back, and then it's just like a back and forth, but slowly they start growing feelings for each other. There is the I can't think of words. I was gonna say foretelling. That's not the right word. Where it hints at things early on. You know that? That happens in ways that, like, I just thought the comment about necrophilic prince with kissing Snow White or Sleeping Beauty awake type thing, I thought that was just a funny joke, and I laughed. And then a thing happened. The ending with Red trying to save Blue. Honestly, I was sending the nicknames that they call each other in the letters, and also some of the things that Red talks about Blue with, because Red falls hard. I sent some of those to the fish, and the fish went, "Stop, please! I gotta read that. Please stop." It was great. I loved it. 5 stars. Anyways, more lesbians. Don't Want You Like a Best Friend. This is a book that I was supposed to read from NetGalley in January, and then I never picked it up. And then the audiobook finally became available to me, and I kept on pushing it off because I didn't think it was going to be for me. Honestly, based on the synopsis, it was not what I was expecting. I really enjoyed it. 4 stars. The way I pushed it off so long. So long. It is about 2 girls, one of them mother dead, the other one father recently died. And cousin is about to inherit all the money. The cousin is one of the main characters. Okay, her cousin and her cousin are both, who is like the younger son, and this one is the cousin of her who inherited all their money, are the love interest and then sequel. I'm excited. And then the main characters in this one are like trying to matchmake them, right? The end of this one is them going like, oh, we should matchmake them. Basically, she has to be married off in her 1st season, or else they're not going to have any money because the cousin gets everything, right? And so, they quickly notice that their parents have a thing. Basically, they had a love affair a long time ago, but she needed money. She needed to marry into money, and he wasn't the first son. So, she married the main character's father. Kind of abusive. There is the scene. So she almost marries this guy, and his father is very much against this divorce act that makes it so a woman can divorce their husbands, for, you know, emotional distress, physical abuse, stuff like that, adultery. And so he's all like, my son can do anything to you, and you can't say no to it, and he will do anything I say, blah, blah. And the mother's like, bitch, no. That scene, iconic. I was like, how are they gonna fix this? Because that she wasn't able to hang out with her lady lover. Anyways, lady lovers, it's good. I highly recommend. It's a lot of them trying to set up their parents, and then at the end, the parents do get together, and they're happy stepsisters who also like to make out sometimes. And their plan at the end of the book is to marry each other's cousins, and then their cousins, because like their cousins clearly have some type of thing going on, right? and would be good together. So then the cousins can be together and they can be together, and nobody would be the wiser. I'm very excited for it. Thank you very much. I wonder if I'm gonna get it from NetGalley. I did request it immediately from NetGalley like halfway through the book because I was like, this is actually really good. The audiobook's spectacular. Highly recommend. Alright. There is a book in between the next 3, but I'm gonna talk about the next 3 in one sitting because I finished Oron. I know, right? So wild. 16 I rated 4.25. Yes. That one is there's a fight between Mori and Honey. It's funny. And then basically Tamaki is moved into the main mansion and has to give up the host club and a bunch of other stuff, and says some things to Haruhi, and whoop, 17, 5 stars. Haruhi and the crew realize, hey, there's some stuff going on here with his family. Trying to help him out with it from behind the scenes. The host club's ended, blah, 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 blah. And then literally everyone ever in the whole entire series comes and helps Tamaki get to the airport in time to see his mother for the first time in 3 years. It is beautiful. Haruhi's with him the whole time. He tells her that he wants her there to be there for emotional support and whatnot. And then afterwards, as they're watching the plane go, they're holding hands still, and she says, I love you. In case you're wondering, I did almost cry like 16 times reading volume 18, which I also rated 5 stars. This one is more of that scene where she's basically like, I think I love you. And then he's like, me too. And she's like, oh, of course you love yourself. And he's like, no, I love you. She's like, oh, okay. And then she wants to hang out with Tamaki, but he's too busy. And she assumes that he's too busy for like family stuff, school stuff, blah, blah, blah. And so she makes a plan to ask him out on a date, but he is too busy trying to find out the perfect date. And so they go to ask each other on a date at the same time. They go on a date. It's very cute. On the first date, are they already saying I love you? And also, is he taking her to her mother's grave to say that I will stand by her side forever? Yes. Also, Haruhi is going to Boston. She's studying abroad for a year. Everyone is saddened by this. The host club is shutting down again. It's been open for like 1 week. So they throw a goodbye party for Haruhi, in which she comes out to all the girls being like, hey, the girls all think she's just a flamboyant gay man who is, likes to cross-dress sometimes and is in a relationship with Tamaki. Also, they kiss multiple times. I'm a simple bitch. Well, if I'm ever gonna reread any of them, it's gonna be 18, because I just need more of that. Can I get an extended edition? They're just, and when they're, and then it's just, also the fact that he's like over flamboyantly romantic, and she's like, not unromantic, but in her, showing her emotions and whatnot. It's a good balance. And then also a lot of the ways that he shows his love is by doing things to take care of her, which is a big thing because she always worries about caring about everyone else and never taking care of herself. Like in the epilogue, he's cooking her dinner while she writes out paper. I'm fine. Anyways, they kiss in a waterfall pond thing at one point. It was adorable. A bunch of other things happen. They kiss at the dance. Right? Then they go. He decided, yeah, I told your brother I want to leave your side. I'm going to Boston too, because it's technically the top of each class gets to go abroad for free. And that's why she's going abroad, because she's the top of her class. But he's the top of his class, and so he's like, yeah, I got this like room right next door to yours. Like we can be together the whole time, and just be happy and in love. Right? It is funny because Haruhi's father doesn't know that Tamaki's going as well. And so He's like, no, give me back my daughter. At the airport, and that's when all the girls turn. Oh no, Harvey's actually a girl. That was funny. Tommy's grandmother's supporting of their relationship, because the way that Harvey's very blunt is great for someone who's very like over the top romantic, imagining things, whatnot. It's all in his head, because like she can straight up tell him, no, you're being an idiot, just go talk to the person. And then he will, because she told him to. And then there's a problem solved. Like he listens to her when she talks down to him, tells him to actually just go talk to his mother, because like she can't do that, her mother's dead. And he's like, okay. Like she puts things in perspective for him, and so she supports the relationship because of that. It's just beautiful. It's great. Them in Boston, beautiful. I love them. 5 stars. Second favorite cover is 18. 17 is top. I think 13 is my third favorite cover, which is funny because that's the other one I rated 5 stars. Anyways, I talked about Aura for too long. I don't know what to do with my life. I guess I should finish Tokyo Ghoul. I was gonna say I could restart Fruits Basket, but I guess I'll finish Tokyo Ghoul because I'm kind of close to finishing that. I may want to restart it though. I don't know. Okay. Another series I finished is Unbroken. That's not an episode of the podcast yet, but it will be coming out in the next few weeks. It is a trilogy. It's a reverse harem shifter romance. Sadly, nobody turns into a dinosaur, despite the fact that there was a comment that she has enough power to turn into a dinosaur. That's a hate crime against me personally. This one is, I categorize them all as, first one as her learning the truth about everything and banging one guy one time for the first time ever. Second one is the one where she gets strong to fight the big bad guy and bangs all 4 of them at separate times. This is the one where she defeats the bad guy, and in order to do so, she needs the power of banging 4 guys at once. 3 stars. And not because of anything I said, but because in this one they drop both fairies and fairylands and fairy worlds. There's a separate Griffinland, right? And then halfway through, there's suddenly vampires, and at the end of the last chapter, oh, guess what? There's demons. There is a spin-off series. Surprise, surprise. Off of the side character that was on in the book for 5 pages. I'm not gonna read them. So yeah, the writing in this one was not strong, personally. Also, the end fight, kind of dumb. I don't like gunfights anyway, so like, you know, this was set up to be my least favorite. And the last book I read, I heard that one, rated that one 3 stars, by the way. Last book I read, another NetGalley book, another poetry collection, Morning Leaves. The author's sister died right before the pandemic, and so it's about her grief, and basically every morning she would wake up and write a poem about her emotions that day, and so it's just the process of grief, basically, and during a pandemic, right? The artwork's spectacular. I did write a whole entire review about this. Could I totally read it for you? Yes. Artwork's spectacular. The poetry isn't like anything new, groundbreaking, the great stuff. It's pretty basic, but she's like not a professional poet or anything. It was literally just, the purpose of it is to go through her process of grief using nature through a lens most of the time. And it succeeds at that. And I think the biggest thing is this book would be great. She even says it in her book to not read all of it in one sitting. I technically read it in 2, but in one day. Because it is better to read one at a time. And I agree. It is definitely a type of book where you should read a book or a poem a day and then just sit there in the feelings that it makes you feel. Because she, despite the fact that it's like not groundbreaking, but the fact that in some of them you can definitely palpably feel the anger. I think it's like the palm tree one is one of them, and maybe the cactus one. I was like, oh yeah, you can feel like the anger of grief in this. And it's just, my favorite one was Buttercup. Not because it's my favorite flower, though that does help. It's the most different of all the poems, and also just like, it invoked both her emotions, but also my own emotions about similar things, and also the Buttercups all at once. So it's just a good one. 3.5 stars. It's a good book. And I think that's all I have to say. Did I mention that one was NetGalley? I don't remember. That's it. The one I'm in the middle of is Lakewood. which is medical horror. Weird things are happening. I don't understand anything. And I think that's the point. That is everything. My legs are falling asleep. My foot is asleep. My legs are actually cramping, so I'm gonna finish this off fast. Podcast. Links below in general. Up above in the cards, I will have each of the vlogs that went up that have to do with this. Again, fishing series vlog should be coming up in a few weeks. It's actually 2 weeks, actually, I think 2 Wednesdays from this is when that goes up. And then podcast, I won't put the direct podcast episodes up, but I will put the podcast in general, the channel. So that's a thing. The YouTube video for things we had from the light is funny. There's extra bonus stuff in there for the YouTube video, so that's a thing. Do all the things if you want to do all the things. But the other things, I game, Twitch, but also been playing Stardew Valley with my sister, and I've been uploading those to YouTube 1 a week on Friday nights. So that's the thing if you want to watch those. I think we're on like the 6th one now. I don't know. We're a year almost exactly from where the last one went up in game currently. So I'm a little bit far ahead. It's fine. I think that's everything. Until the next video.